Hey everybody, my name is Ixie and welcome back to my channel where I analyze Nine Inch Nails music, and a few of you had requested that I analyze Something I Can Never Have from Pretty Hate Machine and from Still. So I thought, why not give both those albums some love today? Something I Can Never Have is such a classic. It's a beautiful, haunting, simple piano ballad. Of course there's a vocal as well, but when you think about it, you think of the piano. Well, at least I do. And this theme. This theme goes throughout the entire song. As far as I can tell, it never stops. It's like the heartbeat of the song. This song also stands out on Pretty Hate Machine. I mean, there's really nothing else like it. I guess this is like Trent Reznor's first ballad. So you have the main haunting piano theme that kind of keeps time for the song. We have very minimal, sparse industrial percussion that comes in and out. And I would say that this song is really lyric heavy. Like, I feel like everything that's happening is there to support the lyrics. I mean, you could argue that about all music that has a vocal, but he's saying a lot. And everything's kind of driven by the narrative. Very dynamic, heartbreaking, powerful. It's kind of got it all. And his vocal delivery is also really high on the emotion level. And this could be partly because he was maybe a less skilled singer back then, but also the song lends itself really well to this sort of broken, kind of wavering delivery, almost conversational anymore. You know, where you don't even really know what note he's singing half the time. There's also a really, really strong emphasis on the fifth degree, the G. This is the tonic. So I'm going to go into detail about all of these things, but that's kind of the lay of the land. This is in C Mixolydian flat 6, which sounds like this. It's like major on the bottom, minor on top. So the main theme. I love about this is, like I said, the emphasis on this fifth degree. It's just... I also really love the syncopation. So all of the G's are on the offbeats. That sort of implies kind of feels like he left a note out. With that experience in mind, this does feel a little bit like it's not stable. And even though the fifth of a scale is a very stable note, it really helps you stay in the key you're in. But there's nothing more stable than the tonic, which is C. So harmonically, there is just a little bit of like, I'm not home. And this relationship, this is a minor second, and so that's a very like tight. So let's listen to the bass line. I just sort of assumed it was going to be something like this. Because it's very Nine Inch Nails-y. A major 1, flat major 3, but it doesn't go here. It goes here. Oh my gosh. When you expect it to go back down to C, it goes to G. So we got a real strange bass line, and it's very exposed. Now, oftentimes in popular music, the bass line note is the bottom note of the chord that is being implied. Let's think of a different chord progression, right? Like maybe the Great Below. Okay, let's build a chord off of this note. Okay, let's build a chord off of this note. What about this one? Or maybe... Cool. Done. With this one, there's a mixture of chords in root position and a mixture of inversions. Nine Inch Nails music rarely has actual triads ever played. We're guessing based off of instrumentation and vocals and instinct. Now, I talked a little bit about bass lines that don't really behave like bass lines in some of my earlier videos. I think this is one of those. Sometimes it functions as a bass line. Sometimes it functions as almost like a passing tone. I do think it's a C major 1 chord. Then when it goes up here, I think it just stays in C. This This would be an inverted C major chord with an E on the bottom. This doesn't feel complete. Doesn't this feel like it's not over? Something still needs to happen to bring us back to a place of stability. So if we assume that this chord progression stays in C for here, then when we get to F, we can probably safely assume that this is now going to be a 4 chord. I would say it's probably minor just because of the flat 6. It goes to G. Okay, so now we have another inversion of C, followed by another inversion of C. So I think it's just C to F, with some really interesting passing tones to make things feel less settled, to feel more agitated, even though there's not a lot of dissonance. This is a very pretty song. This is another way to effectively create a feeling of uncertainty. Which also makes things feel much more satisfying and settled when you do finally get C in the bass line. Now, just for fun, I was trying to figure out if there could be any other sort of harmonic implication happening. Like, what if it was like... Or so many things you could do with this, but I like this sort of like almost uncomfortable rule-breaking situation he's created for us. If I didn't know that Trent had classical training, I would think that he was just a really good intuitive musician. He's breaking so many rules in a way that makes it seem kind of innocent. Like he just doesn't really know how Western harmony works. And that's something so endearing to me about this song, because he's younger, because this is such a raw, genuine delivery. But who doesn't love a musician that's not trained, but is making really powerful choices because they're not trained? One other thing I did forget to mention is that the bass line, in some cases, will just stay on C for a while. Anymore. Just staying on C. Just kind of setting you up. And then, now we're moving in. You always... If this is the first time you're watching my videos, and I am terrible with lyrics, so. And by the way, the bass line is not a piano, it's strings, synthesized strings. So that's an interesting quality. I have to listen to Pretty Hate Machine all the way through to make sure, but I don't think there are any other songs with strings. Now, strings automatically make us feel like there's something emotional happening. Strings are very, very expressive, and their association is usually with film scores. So it's just very dramatic when you add strings. So this is what's happening during the verses and the chorus. Another really beautiful sort of motif is another piano. It's just got some different effects on it. I love this part. So this is going tonic to fifth, but this goes fifth to tonic. So that's kind of a nice little mirror image, I feel. Super tonic. This is the second degree. Do you feel how suspended that is? So good. So these two notes are totally in the chord, and these two are not. These two imply a flat major 7 chord. Now listen to this. If you play a flat major 7 over 1, and there's such good tension. I love it when musicians will basically they're like, with with this bass line just kind of sticking where it is. I think I talked about that in my last video, and someone commented and said that that could be called a pedal point. Basically, you just like have this like drone that's telling you what key you're in, and everything is sort of like moving against it. All this to say that this is awesome. Man. Like I said, he has a lot to say in this song. So there are 3 verses and I think 3 choruses at least. And that's a lot. I would say most popular music has 2 verses and 3 choruses. In order to keep things interesting and to propel the narrative forward, you have to make changes. The first verse, we get his kind of original melody. And it's going to be really hard for me to play that because of his delivery, where it's just kind of talk singy, and he's not worried about being in tune. He's just being real. And sometimes he's kind of whispering, you know, anymore. It's like, I don't know. Second verse, he changes the melody. Always knew, na, na, da, da, da. Going a little bit higher and just doing lots of variations. Gray would be the color, right? If I had a heart. Oh my gosh, I just realized I'm wearing gray today. And then last one, he changes things up too. The instrumentation changes. There's no bass line. It's just him and the piano. The choruses do the same thing. But then in the second chorus, you make this all go away. You make this all go away. That's sort of like a similar pattern, but just shifted up into a different part of the scale. Third verse, you make this all go away. You make this all go away. Or something. He's changing things by adding, I think, intensity each time by going up further. More emotion in his voice, of course. He ends up sort of doing his kind of Trent scream belt. I think that was a really smart choice, is to keep things interesting, make changes, but keep the themes pretty consistent. This brings me to my next point, is that I think this is the #1 track, at least that I've analyzed so far, by 9 Inch Nails, that capitalizes on how easy it is to make the major or minor third of a scale ambiguous. That was a lot of words to say. You really don't know when he's singing this note or this note 90% of the time. You make this all go away. You make this all go away. I'm down to just one thing. He is taking advantage of the fact that the voice can sing microtones in between these 2 notes, and he's really making it expressive. It doesn't really matter anymore. And another way that he makes it clear that there is sort of this strange teeter-tottering between these 2 notes, sort of this synth pad that comes in on the 3rd chorus, I believe, where it's sliding between F, E, and E flat. Major third, minor third. So it goes, and to have it so low in the bass range, it's kind of like, yeah, your foundation is really getting messed with already because of this. And then to have, so it's just like there's so much like of the 3rd in the bass line and so much of the 5th being emphasized by everything else. There's some other synths that come in at some point that are just going I think in the right headphone, and then you got this. It's just strange. Now there is a bridge. I always loved that part, partly because it introduces dissonance. These tones were not in the chord. So here's the chord, and the piano is going. So this chord It's just a rearranged, inverted B flat major chord. So to me, this is a little callback to this melody. It's just sort of a variation. It's syncopated. So you got one and Now this is just my own personal interpretation, but when we get here, this to me kind of feels like giving up a little bit. Like no resolution, just here. Da, da, da. Oh no, that's the part where it just goes. Da, 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 da. I love that. We're just left with his really soft, just heartbroken vocals with this piano and no bass line. And that's a really stark contrast. I forgot to talk about the industrial percussion in this song. For the most part, the time is being kept by this main theme. Like I said, this is the heartbeat. There is some percussion during the chorus. And it sounds literally industrial. Like it just sounds like some machinery that's, driven by steam operating. But it's sparse, but it's there. And it's really, really a cool sound. Like this song, does it sound dated? I would say not really. I think Pretty Hate Machine is very dated. I feel like this song could have been written now. A piano ballad and these like machine sounds. Oh, and birds, by the way. There's some birds I never noticed before. Another thing I really like about this song is the way it ends. He changes the chord progression to something that's completely different. I just want something. I just want something. Just want something I can never have. It gives me goosebumps. We have a flat major 7 to the minor 4 to the flat major 6, and we stay there, and that's how the song ends. Now listen to how this theme sounds over these new chords. It's amazing. I really want to take you through the harmonies that this change creates. So before, tonic and fifth, when we're playing C, is very consonant. Both these notes are in the C major chord. These two notes are also in this chord. Okay, so this is some really nice tension. This is a ninth. But here, so this note, and this note, and this note, none of these notes are in this chord. They don't fit. I think with his vocal melody, this becomes a little bit more meaningful. I can never have. The reason I say that is because he's going, never have. Going down to the flat 7 is just sort of an embellishment. He just could have gone, and he does at the very beginning, I just want, but lower, I just want something I can never have. So he later kind of starts to embellish that by going, never have. It's just like it keeps falling, and it falls past where you want to arrive. So it's like you missed. You almost had it, and then you just missed. Never have. Suddenly that note that was sort of missing the mark is now home. Never have. I like that. I just want something. Okay, now where are we going to arrive? Never have is for when we arrive somewhere. I just want something. I just want something I can never have. Right? So where are we going to go here? I just want something I can never have. this major second. Ugh. I mentioned in my last video that the relationship between 1 and 6 is really nice because things that sound good over 1 sound great over 6. There's just some new points of tension, but they have a lot in common. So that was such a nice choice, I think, of his to end it here. Normally, that's a great example of what I was just saying. Things that sound good over 1 sound great over flat 6. And there's our tension. Yeah. Sort of like a major 7th chord. And finally, our heartbeat stops. Some people requested that I analyze the still version. And at first I thought, what are all these still versions I keep hearing about? And then I listened to still and I was like, oh, this album. I just didn't realize that was called Still. Every single track on the album is amazing. So the version on Still is a little bit different. Harmonically, I would say it's almost identical, however. It's more the production. Still version, stripped down, it's pretty much just piano and voice. And then there's a guitar playing. And there's a couple other like notes. I think there's some strings, adding a little bit of harmony. But what I do like about this version is that his vocal performance is even more raw, which is hard to believe. But I think it has to do with how they recorded it and processed it. So you can tell that he's in kind of an untreated room. You know, it sort of sounds like he's in like a bedroom, just some room by himself. When he sings the third chorus, "You make this all go away," he sits back from the mic so much. You can hear it, right? So listen to my voice now. "You make this all go away," versus "You make this all go away." When I sit back here, you can hear the reflections off of my walls and windows. And so that's what you get in the still version. So it just sounds even more intimate. It sounds like almost a live performance, and that he's singing with so much emotion that he has to get off of the mic because it would be too much. He also ends it a little bit differently. I think he ends it whispering, "Something I could never have." I'd love to hear what lyric in this song is your favorite. I'll tell you what my favorite line is. "Just a fading, bleeping reminder of what I used to be. Come on, tell me." I just really like those two like F words back to back. I like the alliteration and also the rhythm. And then just "how I used to be." I love how just like exploratory he is with the melody here. He's got sort of a bass. It's almost, you know what? Now that I think about it, I think the melody is kind of not very well set in stone. I don't even know if you could really play the melody very well. You'd have to make things up and you'd lose so much of what makes his vocal delivery so good. His whispering and sort of the ambiguous notes and the wavering. And like, listen to this. You know, it's like, I think what you would need is a stringed instrument, some kind of instrument where you can really put a lot of expression into it. Okay, well, I think that's it for Something I Can Never Have. So it's my birthday this week, and I was hoping to announce that I was going to be releasing my first single, which maybe I still will announce, but I don't have the release date yet. It turns out releasing music is a lot of work. But it's something I've wanted to do since I was a teenager. So I'm really excited to be finally doing that for myself and hopefully for you guys. I'm also considering starting to teach music theory virtually. So if that's something that interests you, leave me a comment. Even though I use a lot of technical terms that might be going over your head, my strength is in ear training, which is the more intuitive part of music theory. So if you want help developing your ear, I can definitely help you with that. I feel like we're kind of building a community here. And so I'm considering other ways to do that, like platforms where we can talk more, maybe go live on YouTube. We can do a Q&A. We can analyze something together in real time. Anyway, lots of stuff coming. I'm super excited about it. If you want to be up to date with all of those announcements, then definitely follow me on Instagram. Okay, everyone, have an awesome day. Bye. You make this all go away.